is the North End. This is the North End.
Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is the North End YouTube channel. This is Brian. I'm here to talk about Spurs versus Arsenal. This is 5 things I learned and we learned. And it's pretty grim, folks, but we're going to do it anyway because that's what we're here for. So, all right. Number 1, Arsenal are good. Not only are they good, they're great. And this kills me to say, guys, I'm really struggling with this. I don't want to talk about it. I'm really having to pull something out of my hat here to try to even talk about this because it's a difficult one. As people know me, know Arsenal is, and like most Spurs fans, we despise them across the road or up the road or whatever you want to say. But they're a good side. They've been backed properly. Their manager currently is doing a very good job with player management. You can see the development of the younger players. The players that were good last season are great this season. There's a massive improvement. It's difficult to say, but Arsenal are good, and there's a chance, and it's a good one now with an 8-point lead. No team with an 8-point lead has ever won the league or not won the league at this point in the season. So it'd be a massive fail if they lost or if they didn't win the league. But they're in a very good position to do so, and it hurts me to say, but I have to admit it. Arsenal are good. Number 2, when it comes to Tottenham, Hugo Lloris is done. He's made more errors leading to goals than any other player this season. He's done it twice in the last 4 games to leading to big goals that have cost Spurs games. Obviously, we saw that at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium on Sunday, the North London derby. One shot on goal. It's right at him. For some reason, it hits his chest. He falls down backwards and it plops into the net. It's embarrassing. It's a really a Sunday league save that or non-save moment that you would see, and really, really difficult to watch. And of course, Spurs have struggled. This leads me to sort of talk about what Spurs have struggled with, allowing teams to score first, going down 1-0 down in the first half of every game. I think they did it 10 games in a row. And then we didn't do it in a game against Palace and won 4-0. And then we did it again against Arsenal in this game. Going 1-0 down against the current league leaders is going to hurt every time. It's never going to be good. It's always going to be a problematic situation. And they took advantage of it. You know, it was errors that led to both goals. I think Lloris's clearance on the second goal was also a massive issue. Odegaard had to make a finish. It was a brilliant finish. Got to give him that credit for that. But it was literally a pass from Lloris to a Arsenal player that started that move. And if you're giving the ball away from the keeper and that's the result of it, you put yourself under pressure, unnecessary pressure that led to both of these goals. Now, again, to be fair, Arsenal are good. They had hit the post another time. They had some other incredible chances. And Lloris did make up for some of those. He's a great shot stopper, but he's always going to have an error in him. And an error in a big game is never good. And this is where we're at, unfortunately, with this situation with Hugo. He's been a great servant to the club, 10 years, almost going on 11, I believe, or at least 10 seasons with the club. He's done an amazing job. He's stuck with us through what has been, I don't know how many managers. He's probably seen 6 or 7 managers at least since he's been with us for the 11 years, which is brutal for any player to go through. But he retired from football, from international football, and I believe in his head perhaps he retired from football in general, and he's just kind of come to the end of it. It's a second World Cup. He's just come back from that. He's got to get back into club football. Just doesn't feel right. Spurs have got a lot to do here. If they're gonna manage that situation, it has to be done in January. I don't think Fraser Forster is good enough to get Spurs or to keep Spurs in a top 4 position to get them there. I think we're in 5th at the moment. So Hugo Lloris is done. Sadly to say, this is another player that has just been brutal this season. It's Heung-min Son. Wins the Golden Boot last season. This season has just struggled. He could not beat a defender. He could not put a pass together. He has been absolutely atrocious. He had one game where he came and scored a hat trick and everybody thought it was over, and Heung-min Son's back. He just had a little blip, and that's sort of normal for players who go through what they've gone through. You look at other players. So Mo Salah obviously comes into question when you talk about what he had done last season. Also shared the Golden Boot with Sonny, and he's gone on to maybe not perform at the level we've seen him perform at, but he's still playing relatively good football considering his team isn't. And Sonny is not. Now, hopefully it's just a scenario where the system isn't functioning for him and he's still got it in him. He's only 30 years old. He's not too old to keep performing. But man, and I put a question mark at the back of this. So it's Sonny done? So is he done? Because man, I don't know. I haven't when you're relying on players, your best players, and one of your best players who we've relied on for a shit ton of goals isn't performing. It's not only not performing, just performing badly, like Sonny is right now. It's not a good situation, and something has to be done. Number 4. First halves are hard for Spurs. I'm not sure why. I don't know what's gone on. It's gotten into their heads. Goals. I spoke about this earlier. Goals being scored in the first half. 10 games in a row. This is just something that it seems to have gotten into the player's head, into the coach's head, into the club's mentality. It's Spursy is the only way to put it. I hate saying it, but it is. It's fucking Spursy. And my God, I mean, how many times is this going to happen? What do what does a coach have to say? What does a captain have to say? What do players have to do to get up for the North London Derby on a Sunday evening for us evening in London to play against the rival who are currently winning the league at top of the league? What do you have to do to get up for that? You show up in that first half, and that's the performance. It's just shocking. It's really, really shocking. And I don't know what's gotten into the team. I don't think Conte has. I don't think the captain has, because he's doing it. He's making the mistakes. Harry Kane doesn't look good until the second half starts. It's really strange, really hard to get our head around. And it obviously is having a massive effect on results. We initially started coming back from those situations, but it started to just not happen. The Villa result comes to mind, and obviously this one as well, going down a goal or two and then not being able to come back from it and just looking out of ideas when players aren't performing. And number 5, and I think this is really being spoken about right now and something that should be discussed. It looks as though Conte is done. Now, there's nothing been official about this, but there has been rumors about it that there's Tuchel is being discussed. Obviously, Poch has been all over the place, been discussed forever. That we may be going through another manager, and the absurdity of this is unbelievable. And this has to be said: the managers 100% have some responsibility for the things that happen on the game or during the game, when it comes to substitutions, the players that play, and getting the players motivated. But what we've seen time and time again under this regime of Levy and Enoch is that it's how many managers does it take before we recognize what the problem is? And it's backing the manager properly when they deserve to be backed. When Poch wasn't backed, even though he had a blip, and all the things he had done in the 5 seasons he'd been with us there, way overperforming. And then you bring in 3 different managers. Not going to include the other manager from Wolves who didn't who didn't really do anything. I just forget about him. But you bring in, you bring in a Mourinho, and then you bring in Conte, and we'll make it the two of the most winningest managers ever in the Premier League, but also just generally speaking in world football. And you don't back them. You back them a little bit. You give them a touch. You give them a hint. You give them a player for this much here, a player from that much there. But when you know what Conte requires, and you're not, and the job isn't done at the beginning of a transfer window, which was what we're watching right now. Currently, we need key players in the center half position. We need a right wing back, which we've been stalling over a buyout clause in a contract for Pedro Porro. When you don't pull the trigger and get the job done, all that manager looks and sees is that you're not serious. You don't want to compete. You don't understand what I need, and you're not giving me what I need. This is the reality that Spurs are currently in again. We're going to go through another manager. Probably Poch comes back to try to appease the fans, who are a lot of them, to be fair, and sadly, who would accept that as good enough, even though we have one of the most winningest managers ever, and in current form, one of the most winningest managers ever. And here we are with Dr. Tottenham, making him look bad. Because he's not being backed properly. The board need to take responsibility. 1 trophy in 20 years is not good enough. Not backing managers that deserve to be backed based on their own records is not good enough. That's where, for me, and I think a lot of us are sick of, that's where the blame stands and needs to be stood at. And something has to happen there. I don't know what it is. I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of protests. There's a lot of people. There's a lot of talk. There's even talk of them selling portions of the club, but What will happen, we don't know. But unfortunately, it looks as though Conte is going to be gone. Whether it's him leaving because he's sick of it, because he recognizes this is bullshit and he's right, or whether the club do what they usually do and they sack the manager when maybe it'll be just before our next Champions League game or something of that nature, something that seems to be a regular thing that we do. Anyways, it's a sad state of affairs currently at Spurs, from a team that had such a good season under Conte last year. All he needed was to continue that process, and that has not been given to him. And again, like I said, he takes some responsibility for what happens on game day. But this is a club problem, not a manager problem. We've had under Enoch and Levy, we've had 20+ managers. We won one trophy, or something like that, some absurd number. Anyway, thank you for watching. This has been 5 things we've learned at Arsenal 2-0 versus Spurs. Sad state of affairs currently. Thank you for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe. This is the North End. Cheers. Ciao.
This is the North End. This is the North End.